Hello everybody, this is a video I definitely didn't want to make. I wanted my channel to be surrounded around happy topics. I think that the gaming sphere as a whole has gotten so negative over the recent years, and I wanted to make better, happier videos. But today, it's going to be something different. Saying goodbye to something that you've loved might be the hardest thing that we have to do in life. It's made only worse when that thing's taken from us. And so, I want to give the Destiny community a little light in this dark time for them. Before getting any deeper into this video, I know that a lot of people will say that it's just a game, but it really isn't. It was a community, and it became a family that was slowly torn apart that will now never be repaired. And I don't see a Destiny 3 or a Destiny Classic coming anytime soon. But hey, they did bring back Marathon, and Destiny's a lot more popular, so it could happen. And there is that new petition that you can go and sign at change.org, which I'll have linked down below, but I think you'll learn from this video, my opinion is that some things have to be put behind you and moved on from for the betterment of you and that thing. So I think it's time we paint a picture. It's 2004 and you're just 4 years old, so you look up to all the older boys around you, and especially those who are closest to you. In this case, it's me, and it's looking up to my 7-year-old brother and my 16-year-old cousin. Your cousin lives at your grandparents' house for interesting reasons, and you come over to their house every weekend to let your parents rest from the insanity of 2 young boys and because your grandparents are awesome. One day in November of 2004, you're on the computer and your cousin walks into the room and he shows you a new game on it. It's called World of Warcraft. You then proceed to watch him and your brother walk around on his level 11 Night Elf Warrior in Teldrassil. His name was Kain Asgaren. Everything is so beautiful even at just 10 frames per second. The tigers sounded like real animals and these bear and tree monsters roamed the land like real living beings. You didn't get to play that night, but you knew that your brother and cousin liked to sleep in, so you woke up at 5 a.m. to start playing a character. At just 4 years old, you make your first character, an undead warrior. You attack every mob you see until you end up hitting level 4 off of just level 1 and 2 mobs. You never left the starting area or fought any red-named enemies because you were too afraid to do so. Then you quickly find out that you actually have to read quests to complete them properly. And you're only 4 years old, so you can't really read. So you end up making another character, and you do this for every race on the Horde until you get to the Alliance. Something was different about the peaceful human starting zone. You actually completed some of the quests and even got your first abilities. Battle Shout, Rend, Charge, and so on. You finally leave the starting area and make it to Goldshire. You see the coolest looking characters ever just standing around. They had pieces of gear and slots you didn't even know that could be filled out, and they were filled with greens, blues, and some even had purples. They had stats you couldn't even understand, like what even is agility? Some of them dueled, and you watched it for hours and hours. You saw the gates of Stormwind as you walked up the nearby path and were greeted by the greatest soundtrack in gaming. You fell in love with a game that you couldn't even fully comprehend. For the rest of vanilla, you made a new character every time you could play, deleting old ones to make space for them. And you leveled up to level 10 each time, the end of the first zone. Inspired by your brother's ability to level his warrior, you then make a Draenei paladin named Rickoff, because it sounded like Frickoff and you're only 7 years old at the time, and that's pretty cool, to almost swear. By the end of the expansion, just by reading quests and playing on and off, you make it to the low 30s. You've seen every major city and even ran some dungeons, but something big was on the way, Wrath of the Lich King. This Lich King guy was pretty big for the story, and you don't ever dream of fighting him, but you want to play around people that did. By the end of Wrath of the Lich King, you actually made it to level 80, the new max level. And this was done because of the help of Dungeon Finder. Dungeon Finder is not a great addition, but for my 9-year-old bud at the time, it was pretty nice. You ran Battlegrounds all day as a max level character, and even got the full set of honor gear. The Cataclysm came out and you reached max level before the game was over, and you did heroic dungeons, Battlegrounds, and even looked for raids at the end of it as well. Looking for raids, also a pretty bad system, but nonetheless, that gear felt different. There were now all these tiers to gear, and mine was the worst of it all. It almost felt like I was trying to fit in with people that knew I wasn't supposed to be there. Later, Mists of Pandaria would be the last time that I played avidly, and that's because of the new talent tree changes. I never searched up what the best build was, I just picked what I liked, and that made me, me. They were reduced to so little. Every new spell was just given to me, and gear had stats that I couldn't fully comprehend, and PvP was brutally complex at the time. When the next expansion came out, or was announced I should say, Warlords of Draenor, I thought it was going to be different. But as I watched my brother play, I realized it was just more of the same. But now the player models look different, and I didn't look like myself. The classes changed so dramatically that I didn't feel like myself, and garrisons removed me from the rest of the world. World of Warcraft, as of that time, as the memories and core to my being that it once was now gone. Even though Blizzard continued to update the game, what I loved, what I still love to this day, was taken from me. The memories of watching my brother play faded. I thought it really couldn't get much worse. It was darkest before dawn after all, right? Turns out, it could get darker. I spent every day looking for the next MMO to fill that void. I played Terra, RuneScape, Riftbound, Lord of the Rings Online, WildStar, FF14, Minecraft MMO servers, Trove, Guild Wars 2. Sure, I played other games like Skyrim and Call of Duty, but nothing was like WoW. This was the darkest time. A full year or so of trying to fill an Azeroth-sized hole in my heart. But it turns out nothing would ever fill it, especially nothing similar to it. Instead, something else came out, a game similar to WoW, with loot tiers and also similar to Borderlands, that I also really liked, and I could play this one with friends. It was called Destiny. It came out and it quickly became my favorite game. It was like WoW with strikes and raids and PvP, but it was FPS and sci-fi, and even though I've always preferred traditional fantasy, this one was okay. But since I tried a new game and I liked it, I thought, why not another? Bloodborne was free on PlayStation 1 month in 2016, so I got it, and I fell in love with that, and now I had 2 games to play. It turns out, FromSoft also had other games in their suite that I could play as well, like Dark Souls. I got into Dark Souls 2, and later that year Dark Souls 3 came out, and then in 2018 Dark Souls 1 remastered. I still played Destiny at the time, but now I had a couple of other games. And now that I've beaten these other games, I actually went back to finishing Borderlands 1 and 2 because I always had them on the back burner and played WoW above everything. And I played them and I loved them too. I played these single player games that had endings, and it confused me because I also had that empty feeling. But instead, I moved on to the next thing and got accustomed to the finality of things. I drifted so far from WoW that the idea of playing it again had slipped from my mind. One day in September of 2019, I was watching a Dark Souls speedrun to pass some time in between my university classes, and YouTube recommended a video of Asmongold reacting to a Dark Souls 1 speedrun. I watched it and then I clicked on his channel. It turns out that he wasn't a Dark Souls YouTuber or streamer, but instead a World of Warcraft streamer. And Classic WoW had come out just a couple weeks prior, from vanilla. I thought, cool, I might check that out, but I wasn't too deeply invested. I came home and was going to talk to my brother about it, but lo and behold, he was questing in Westfall and I was watching him and talking to him about it now 15 years later. I decided, sure, I'll play Classic WoW. This time around, things were different. I could read for one, and I was actually quite competent at games. I searched up what the hardest class was to level. This was obviously motivated because of me playing Dark Souls just before it, and every list said Warrior. So I chose a Night Elf Warrior and named him Courtesy. My name's Curtis, my last name starts with a C, and I'm very creative. I keybound all my abilities and took the world by storm. I loved it, but I hit level 40 and realized I was on a normal server. No PvP in the open world, so I went again. Human Warrior, biggest streamer, and I came to take names, but more so just be a part of all the big events. I leveled through a world that I didn't even really remember anymore, especially because I was so young when I first played it, but because I never got past, realistically, the 20s during the beginnings of the world. Yes, I did level up a bunch during Wrath of the Lich King, but you could skip a lot of things, you could level up a lot quicker, for those who know, obviously. But this time I knew something that the kid me didn't. This was not going to last forever. Nothing does. I chose to enjoy it for what it was, filling in the gaps in my perfect childhood memory. Things weren't cool because I could show it off in a year or two, but because I actually got to do it in the first place. The fact that I knew it wasn't going to last forever made me want to soak it all in. And the game moved on to the Burning Crusade, and I did as well, arguably having the best experience because of my amazing guild. I loved Jord's Cult, and I will, until my memory wipes when they reboot the simulation. And the Wrath of the Lich King Classic taught me to never meet my heroes. I became that player strong enough to kill the Lich King, and I got the most sought after weapon in the process. I learned that I liked the idea of the Lich King fight more than actually getting to it and doing it. During those 4-ish years I played Destiny 2 as well, FromSoft games, roguelikes, League of Legends, Minecraft, Borderlands, and a ton of indie games in various genres. And I loved every second of the games I played, except for the end of Wrath of the Lich King. I learned the most important lesson of all. Don't cling to things that treat you poorly. Destiny 2 should have died almost a year ago, and honestly died before that, before the final shape came out, and before Forsaken. That game has treated all of its players like Blizzard treated me before, like a toxic relationship. We clung to something that would never make us happy like it once did before, because we believed in the possibility of it. The worst part is we all know exactly what the game could do to make us happy once again. I give only one suggestion to all players and all dejected gamers, because you are going to feel bad. There's nothing stopping you from feeling bad, and it's probably the right emotion to have. It's something that was so important to you being lost. But I say this now, skip that darkest part of the moment. Don't look for games to fill the void, and instead look for something different. Create a new part of yourself that one day you can be done with as well. But instead of it being a void this time, it's a beautiful picture that connects with others to make up who you are. And then you'll be able to look back on the memories of Destiny as not a void, but the first picture in that colorful collage of memories. Nothing lasts forever. Not the love for a game or the game itself, not your first crappy car or that original Xbox controller. We ourselves don't last forever. Appreciate those moments for what they were, the good, bad, and the amazing. Even if I lived forever, it wouldn't be long enough to dwell on the things that upset me. To conclude, I'll give a list of games that can really suck into them if you haven't played them before, and I don't want people in the comments talking about, oh my god, it's single player games half the time, and I want to play something with other people. Destiny has become such a single player game. So the first one is World of Warcraft Classic. What do you expect? That's my little baby, my love. Old school RuneScape, the Dark Souls series. You should start from Dark Souls 1 for the best experience when it comes to learning the ropes, as well as learning about the lore style, like the storyline style, the delivery. Borderlands 2, 3, and 1 are also good, but 2's the best in my opinion. You can get it for like $5 every now and again, with all the DLC. Roguelikes like Vampire Survivors and Crawlers, Risk of Rain, and Megabonk. Terraria, get some boys and play some Terraria, it's a great time. Minecraft, Fear and Hunger, 1 and 2. Counter-Strike or Valorant for the PvP nerds, and No Man's Sky for the space explorers. Path of Exile for theory crafters, Undertale, Amori, but you've probably already cried enough recently, so maybe not. Cyberpunk, and a whole lot more that I just haven't thought about in the moment, so toss more in the comments if you have any. And one last final note, but the people in my real life know that I just got back into Destiny 2 after a couple years away. I didn't really like Prismatic or the updated classes, and I didn't like where the story was going after the final shape either. And I knew for a good amount of time that when Shadow and Order got delayed and then they announced a name change that it was going to be something of triumph. But that's what made me get back into the game, because Bungie does something right. It's that last triumphant patch. Destiny 1 is a lot better now in its final state than any state prior to it. It's endlessly revisitable on a yearly basis for about a month or so, and hopefully Destiny 2 can be the same. If you're still here, these times will pass, and with time you will see that this is what's best for you and the game. It would be much harder to watch it slowly fade into something you can't stand to look at, let alone play. And maybe that new light isn't so far away, but you'll never know if all you do is stare into the darkness before you now. Keep your chin up, Guardian. There's a whole galaxy to explore.